fell when I watched this.
In one shot, 4 separate circular saw blades. It's amazing the adaptations that the Japanese have for the work that is worldwide, right? I've loved this. You guys have been telling me to watch the Shoyan Japanese carpenter for a long time, and I've finally done it.
Okay.
This is the second time I've sort of scrubbed through what I'm going to show you now. And I'll tell you this, that wood is wood, and sharpening is sharpening, and hammers are hammers, and men are men. But it is sure interesting to see how this guy does what he does, where he does it, with the tools that he has. Expands my brain. I hope you enjoy it, and I want to thank you for pointing me in this direction, because this guy is next level.
Started framing this house in October.
October.
And after 5 months, it's finally done.
5 months.
Now that we have the owner's approval, let's take a look inside before they move in.
Okay,
Let's
5
start
months.
the compilation of season 3.
With the camera going. That's impressive. Nice latch. Protected.
The latch is nice, I'm not gonna lie. I like the latch.
That guy's no older than I am. In fact, he's not as old. Build a House compilation. Season 3. So there's more ahead of this, apparently. Shoyan Japanese carpenter.
Okay, foundation done.
Foundation is complex, not very
My first
big.
carpentry work on the site was to install sill plates.
Right,
It
sill
was
plates
a
on the
hot
concrete.
day, and the weather was great. My
Blue
lunch
chalk
could go
line.
bad, even though it was already October.
All right, look how small and light that square is, but it a little hard to carry in your bags. Is that a Tajima chalk line? Tajima is, as far as I can tell, the best since I've been given one.
Word.
All right, 3, 4, 5. He's squaring up the chalk lines in that inside what must eventually going to be a room. That's got to be the crawl space. Around here, we would typically just frame up little pony walls out of wood, right, to get up to the height of the exterior foundation. But they poured those partitions all the way down with interior hold downs. Let's see why. Height. Good. Height. Okay, plumbing up that big anchor bolt. There's some sort of a sleeve on that, right? It's threaded down. Maybe that's just where the transition to the thread. But check it out. There's black chalk. Black is very indelible. And look at those mortises showing up next to his left elbow. Look at those notches. Wow, that's complicated.
Yeah.
Plumb. Bottom plates. Okay, they're staging their work. They're scattering the pieces.
I just
Look at
drilled
that.
holes in the tops of the sills and placed them on the foundation.
Okay, now we did a react on a Korean house build, and all of the components like this came from a factory somewhere. Looks like the same thing's going on in Japan.
What you mean? It's pre-cut?
It's generally an
If it's
easy
pre-cut,
part of the
that's-
job.
Look how sharp that bit is, big
Pre-cut
chunks.
is crucial.
That's even more work. Like you gotta
So-
send.
You can practice this so that you're drilling square. If you look down the bit from 2 sides, you can get both of the axis, and he's doing that. He's sighting down that auger bit like it's a gun barrel and not worried about drilling square, but that's oversized. That bit is quite a bit bigger than the bolt. No problem with that.
Low days. So installing sills is important. Columns will not be in the right place if the sills are not installed
Bam.
or at right angles.
Okay, nothing underneath those things? Look at that arrow-shaped tenon. Holy smokes, man. But I'm not seeing sill seal or anything. All right.
Therefore, the sills
Look at the
must be
hammer,
installed
boys. That's like in Korea. And in Finland, for that matter.
I install sills, girders. and
All right, what are
plastic
those? I don't know what that is.
Stills.
Then I clean the area. It's just the right amount of work.
Yeah,
Some
what is
sort
it?
of a adjustable support. Oh, of course.
What?
He put them
Stills.
in upside down, got the length, measured off the beam, got the length, adjusted them to height, turned it over, dropped. Smart. Smart. Bolts are being tightened up. Cordless impact, just like home. Crane day.
Before framing, this is a day of timber transportation.
Timber
Framing
transportation.
day is called
Yep.
takemai, pre-construction in Japanese.
All right, this is pre-construction.
What?
At least that's what they call it. So they're shrink wrapped, they're protected, they're clean. and I'll bet they're expensive. Nice
Yeah.
scaffold, boys.
Yeah, I like the
So this
scaffold.
tastes like a
It's
pre-breed
mad work though.
construction.
Look, I don't know. It looks like mad work, but I like it.
So you better believe he gave some thought as to where to land those pallets, those bunks of
On
lumber.
timber transportation, I always join.
All right, let's point this out. You see how those slings are rigged? Opposing pass-through, so that tends to hang nice and straight and not render in the similar direction and twist the load. And look how they protected it, the cardboard. So that's a big deal. If you're lifting something, especially with a chain or a cable, you got to protect the corners of the wood, plywood
Yeah.
especially. That's a mistake that is too easy to make.
The timbers can be lifted down where I want
Lifted down, lowered, lifted down. Where I want them, indeed. Oh, he puts a GoPro on his helmet. Welcome to the wonderful world of filming, bud.
Facts.
All right, tell me what that type of a mortise and tenon connection is called. I mean, there's undoubtedly a Japanese name for that, with it radiused on one end or both ends and the square shoulders. Giant routers are doing that somewhere. Interested in these names. Temporary bracing, held with a screw. Netting to protect something.
Compared to the past, I don't
Yeah,
feel
what's the
nervous
netting
when
for?
framing.
So nervous.
Back
framing.
then, I
Oh,
cut
'cause
every
it's-
frame by hand.
Okay, let's talk about that.
What?
He cut every one of those joints and mortises by hand, weeks before assembly. And it would just be agonizing putting it together, trying to remember if your thought process had been clear or cloudy, or if you had a bad day, or if the whole 7-man crew came to a stop because you messed up 2 months back. That
Nah,
is
he's precise. Nah, he's
Because it was
precise.
drawn and cut by hand. I wasn't sure if they'd fit
Yeah.
together. So I was nervous when someone called my name loudly. Nowadays, I don't feel nervous when someone calls my name because they mostly just ask questions.
Okay, look at that.
Ooh,
Plumb
that's pretty
bob,
plumb.
protected from the wind.
Plumb bob.
See that? It's a
That's
plumb
pretty
bob
plumb.
inside of an enclosure,
That's
and they're
pretty
going to
plumb.
rack the building until it points directly to that snap line. That is cool, boys.
Yeah.
Better than holding up a piece of plywood.
Yes. Oh my God.
Brilliant.
Dingle. Oh my God.
I wonder if this is a good thing.
Adjustable brace. Okay, somebody tell me, you see how the contrast between the heartwood and the sapwood on that horizontal member? That looks like a different species than those posts.
Yeah.
Around here, I would say that's a tamarack, which is a type of cedar, but straighten me out, boys. Is that christening? Looks like it to me. Smashing a bottle against the bow of a ship.
Yeah.
Tell you what, structural screws are everywhere. Subfascia and fascia.
Just like the last site, it rained 2 days in a row, as expected. So we suspended for a day and worked on the roofs the next day.
Shut down for a day. Fair enough.
Although rain hampers the construction, fortunately, the roofing day was safe.
Tape over the top of the rafters. Drilling for plumbing, I assume. Furring it up and then putting the purlins in. But you don't want to step on that insulation. So let's drill down on this a little more, or at least I think I'm drilling down. I could just be confused because it is just an overview video. 5-month build. These guys are getting it done. But they didn't sheet that roof with plywood in the same way that we do. They came with the rafters, they then furred them up, they then cut in the purlins, they then pressed in the styrofoam. Then they put some sort of a real wood, a board, maybe a tongue and groove configuration, at least that looked like it, and then over the top with maybe another insulating board or something to make a uniform substrate. But it's not the plywood shear panel that I'm used to seeing on the roof. Now on the inside, they're putting metal corner braces and attaching them. So I have no doubt that the resistance to racking and the shear strength is adding up to at least what we get out of a plywood roof, maybe boundary nailed, you know, shear blocking at the joints. But it's just another way. Is it better? Is there some appearance factor there I'm not aware of? Or is it just tradition and their manufacturing process and what's on hand? I don't know. But if we're learning nothing else here, we're learning there is more than just one way to skin a cat.
Yes.
Okay, what is that? It's a laser. Look at that. He's setting up a laser, projecting a line to start something.
On this day, the interior work begins. Framing is completed after securing the angle pieces. I install some window sash and door frame.
All right, rough openings are being installed. Just look how clean that lumber is right there.
Yeah, it's flush. That's crazy flush. I ain't gonna lie.
There are various types of sashes and frames, such as sliding types or fixed ones, so the installation process differs. I had the most trouble installing this window sash, since it's for two 135 centimeters wide pieces of glass.
Yeah,
It was
9 feet
very
of glass.
difficult to hold it, but it's a gorgeous window
Heavy.
once installed.
Japanese chisel, yes. Hollow ground on the back. Okay, all right. Vindication. I am vindicated. Luke Wilson sent me 3 nice Japanese chisels. They're nice. Working on that bench. We've got a video series about that. And being a carpenter, I used a steel finish hammer on my Japanese chisels, and you guys just went ballistic. Some of you did. You didn't all, but look here. Who can deny that in Japan with Japanese chisels, he's using a steel hammer? Feels good. So I don't know what that board is, but look at that.
Oh my
so he took
God.
those 2 cuts out of the same board. It continues right on around. The miter is sweet. Something tells me this is not just because there's a camera. This old boy is something else.
Nah, he precise. I'm not gonna lie. That is
Tool nailing a
flush.
screw. No downside to that.
With 1.8 meter square space, I first installs a hanging wall, then the flat Nokiura. The material is cedar, which is the same as a Noki.
All right, so
It's a four.
that was tight, right? I mean, that's a friction fit. As it's driven in, it's putting end load. So there's several questions with this. How do you get a measurement to where the friction fit is tight enough so that you have the allowable tolerance is perfect, but you're not forcing something in so hard that you're bruising the wood that you're swinging by? How do you determine? Is it
Yeah, I don't
plus
know.
a 32nd, plus a millimeter,
I don't know.
plus a hair? It takes practice. It takes practice to know how to place your mark, how to make your line, how to split that line when you're cutting, or whether you leave the line. There's all sorts of conversations about that. We've got some videos, but this guy has it. You're
Nah,
going to
he
see
knows
as it
what he's
goes that a
doing. He
lot
know
of
what
his
he doing.
boards are put in with the heel of his hand. All right,
know
so
what
we
he's
just skipped a lot, right? We went from just sort of an overview of the outside and Nokiura and this porch ceiling to the inside finish work. And I mean, that's what we're here for, right? When you see somebody like this doing this kind of work, you want to see what perfect and visual looks like to him. So we have some knots in the framing members. Not a lot, but clearly it's not clear. But what I've seen towards the end of this video makes it almost impossible to find any sort of a knot or an imperfection in any of the wood. Which introduces a question.
Well,
Would you let me know, is this house that we're watching for the 1%? Is this a median house? What percentage of the people that live in Japan could ever aspire to have a house like this? Gang cutting,
good
tongue and
question,
groove,
good
expense,
question.
not a knot. I wonder how much those boards cost. And that looks
Yeah,
like
that look
a bigger
expensive.
blade than a 7 1/4 inch. He cut 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 boards at one pass. Larry Hahn would be proud of you, buddy. If you're going to gang cut, and I recommend that you do, it's easy to make the mistake of not verifying that the factory end, that the factory cut on the other side of what he's cutting right here is as perfect as the cut you're going to make. And if it's not, then you got to cut them twice. You've got to get a perfect end and make them perfectly flush and square down through the stack before you make this move. And if you don't, you are going to be oh so disappointed when some of those boards were out of square or short and your meticulously laid out gang cut just wrecked, or at least obligated for use somewhere else, expensive boards. So yes, gang cut, and yes, verify the condition of the end. Maybe you use a clamp. Okay, so that's blind nailing. The tongue on the previous piece is engaged with the groove on the piece that he's putting up, and then he's nailing just underneath the tongue in a spot that's going to be covered up by the following groove, right? But I got to reinforce my question about, is that the same species of cedar? And not a knot. It's beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Next is a pony wall. It guards against falls. While I understand the stairwell side, this is my first time building a pony wall before building a staircase. However, it makes sense since it prevents falls.
Okay. Can we just pause and recognize that he said this is the first time he's put a safety railing around a stairwell? Salute, buddy. Now, there's nothing wrong. As he is saying right now, there's nothing wrong. It makes sense. It prevents falls. It does prevent falls. But I guess I'm just pointing out that it's easy to diss on the construction workers in our neighborhoods if we see them do something unsafe. But there's a mentality in construction where the work is the work. And the men, by agreeing to be construction workers, have accepted some degree of risk.
Yeah.
But it's nice to go home at the end of the day, isn't it?
True.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah. I ain't never seen that before.
Look at that. That must
looks
be off of Pinterest or something. That's what they had him shooting for. And it looks like he nailed it.
Yeah.
It's the challenge in all
About to
cultures
say
everywhere.
that.
You're doing work for somebody and they have an idea and nobody can read a set of blueprints and nobody can visualize. But in this day and age, you can find a picture somewhere of whatever it is you're thinking of. And it beats 1,000 words. Beautiful. What's that? Yes. So you see him cut that little chamfer on the edge with his chisel? A chamfer is a wonderful thing. It's cutting off a corner at a 45. But as soon as they get too big, darn it, they're too big. Sometimes they just need to be so delicate. And this guy understands delicate. Okay, there's satisfaction. And you can tell by his stance. His arms are folded. He's staring up at what he's doing. He's designing. He's suspending a problem in his brain and rotating it to look at every possible angle. And he's trying not to sprain his shoulder by patting himself on the back. All right, what are we laying up here?
It get like that. It's crazy because my dad is like
but
that
look
too,
at that
bro.
saw guide square. Look at that thing. You can really keep a hold of it. And what is that, about, I don't know, 16 inches long or something? And it stands up high enough that the table on the saw is in full contact. That's nice.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a big, long C-clamp holding the work together. Yeah. Cuts right through. So the waste board that the clamp's against at the front and at the back stops tear out. See that as he emerges from the boards that he's going to put in place. I don't know, maybe they are also boards going in place. I guess they are. And they're just run long enough that he can clamp and cut. Oh, he's just, what the heck? What's he doing, cutting a bunch of tenons on those or just notches, mortises? Yeah, he's
I used to watch my
mortises.
grandfather do that, bro. What's that, fences?
Wow.
What is that?
Squaring it up.
I'm installing it up high. Please don't mind about the helmet.
Please don't mind about the helmet. So he feels the pressure of personal protective gear on the camera too. I don't
that's
blame
true,
him.
though. I mean, it's probably because of the
Okay,
it's
wedging,
just the comments, bro.
Pushing things
It's the
apart. See
comments.
that?
This curved
Comments
aerial
will get to
design
you, like-
was actually my idea.
Oh.
Though I wasn't sure if the design would work. The owner liked it. I also liked the design, and I think I was right to challenge myself.
Wow. Look at the growth rings on that cedar. Nice and tight, but not stupid tight, right? Like, I'm going to say a 1/16 of an inch. Countersink, he's going to dowel it anyway. Cutting off the dowels. Man, he's liking his work right there.
Mm-hmm. That look good though. That looks
On-site
good.
cabinet shop, why not?
It was a close call when it fitted the shoe cabinet. So I'm glad it fits so well.
So he's not kidding. When you build a box like that and then raise it up inside, you know, you got to count for the extra length, rocking it up. They must put a toe kick under there to bring it right up to where it goes. Otherwise, there's no installing it. But he acknowledged that it made him nervous. And look at that. The tongue and groove joints line up from the right cabinet to the left cabinet. And
if it had not fitted, I would have needed to build it again.
okay, if it wouldn't have fit, he would have had to do it again. There's no sheet goods there. Everything is glued up panels. Some of it came from the Japanese equivalent of a box store or a cabinet shop. But I've seen very little plywood. There was something that went on the faces of the stairs. I don't know what went in on the roof. I don't know. But everything seems to be glued up panels of real wood or individual boards. Enlighten me. Is that because they don't manufacture much plywood? Is that because this is just a higher end quasi-traditional build? Surely there's sheet goods in the commercial and in the apartment. There has to be. So talk to me about how much of the building material selection is tradition and, you know, top drawer construction ethic, and how much of it is driven by a different availability in Asia. I don't know, but it's very interesting. Yeah, look at that. He's got a little piece of sandpaper or something, and he's cleaning off the edges of his square.
I work in a Japanese-style room. Nowadays, Japanese-style rooms are simple. As you can see, I attach a stud to make it look like a pillar, since it won't get scratched and dirty, and it looks like a real pillar. This might be a better option than using a real pillar.
Yeah, build it out. Yep, might be a better option indeed. So watch this. So he cuts down, ostensibly pretty close to the bottom, but then he chisels it off just about a 1/16 of an inch proud. So if the grain happens to be running downhill right there, it doesn't dive in and get too deep. I assume is what he's thinking, and then clean it up. Yep. Once you know how the grain's going to act, you clean it up. Wow.
The commons are made of hardwood cedar. Also,
Okay, what's going
commons
on?
is this how.
Okay, he's spreading the work so that he can slide that top piece in and then slack it and have a serious friction fit, I
The
think.
building's entrance to the roof
Yep.
are 55 millimeters thick.
Look at that.
The typical width is 45 millimeters. Just 10 millimeters thicker makes it look gorgeous. However, this extra thickness of 10 millimeters makes installation quite challenging.
Yeah, see that? That's what he's saying. You add a little length so when it's in place, everything loads up and squishes it perfectly tight. But it's hard to do that. You've got to get some relief in order to get the piece in, and then it pushes down. Big old power plane. Look at that. I'm glad to see that they do things with electricity.
Next is the tokonoma. The floor is
Tokonoma.
a simple one-tier design that is smaller than most.
And then final pass with that. Yeah. So that answers part of a question. We see him using so many hand tools. And there are, I mean, electricity will do anything except apparently it's not just tradition, but making that final finishing cut, paper thin shavings, must just leave a look that you can't get with electricity and sandpaper. Around here, we tend to get it very close and sand it to the finish. It looks like over there they are shaving it to a finish. So interesting. Sharp. Okay, mortising machine. So the bench or the seat, is that mortising drill, I wonder if the seat, if there's a seat that's part of that, or it's clamped, and I guess he's just sitting on the beam. Bam. And there is that beauty.
Bro, what kind of saw? Oh,
Boy, that's a labor saver.
As one beam wasn't long enough for the whole lens, I joined
What?
two beams together.
All right, so he's joining two beams together, but that joint does not create the strength of the beam, it just creates the appearance of a continuous beam, but it must not be acting as a beam. It must just be attached to the building.
let's see what
So
he said.
Ken has, on Ken's house, Ken Jordan's house, my good friend, he's got some beautiful scarf joints that he made to do this, and the joint itself, it just demands your attention. It's so beautiful. But I think he's trying to make this joint disappear. So from a certain perspective, you could butt it up, or you could bevel it. You know, you could put a 22.5. If you're trying to make it disappear, anything that creates a line that is not obtrusive. But this certainly makes it sort of more intuitive to get everything into it. I don't know. Maybe you just can't help doing it this way when you know how to do it this way and you're living in a place where they expect you to do it this way. That's probably it,
Yeah.
right? At this point, cost is clearly the servant of appearance rather than the other way around, which is the way it works on most of the jobs that we're on, that the cost is the driver. But man, this is beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's going in as if it was a beam, but they're supporting it. They're even putting a prop there because, see, that's one of the same props that they used in the crawl space. So the takeaway on this is, it's not exactly a beam. A beam we think of as, you know, a simple beam supported at 2 points at the end, carrying a load in the middle. This is not a beam in that way. This appears to be a beam. If it needed to be a structural beam 40 feet long, sorry, you got to go back to the lumber yard or the mill and buy the
Yeah,
beam.
you got to cut the.
But if
yeah.
it's just looking like a beam, man, his consummate grasp of Asian woodwork makes it look like a beam. Another mortise. Okay, that's the same. All right, he did the same trick there. He held it up with the temporary post and then cut the wood post to go in. Hitting it hard, gotta go. Yep. Okay, so that's back against the wall under that porch thing, supported by the wall, but looks like it is working on the span. Okay, several things here. So I demonstrated this on that deck that I built, one of the first videos, snapping a line, starting your nails. Do it with white chalk if you can, because any other kind of chalk is probably going to leave a mark. But this way you can go through and start, and these are Ardox nails, I think. That's what those screw nails are called, with a beautiful head.
Mm-hmm.
But if you snap a line, then you can come back and place your nails, and you don't have to worry about an unsightly, unstraight line of nails if they're going to remain exposed. And in this case, I think it's a design feature. Okay,
This is a usual scene.
he drilled pilot holes for those nails too. They're going in a very specific placement.
Of nailing. It's good to see comments showing an interest in nailing. Thank you.
Yeah, comments showing an interest in nailing. The skill he's demonstrating here is to take it right down and leave them all slightly proud. It looks like he didn't countersink, he didn't leave any mule tracks, he never missed. He's driving into a pre-drilled hole, but you've got to pay attention, because if he missed with a hammer blow right here, I mean, maybe you
will
could
leave
put
the
a
little
wet
indent.
piece of cloth on there and an iron, and the iron will heat and maybe boil the water in that hoof print and raise it up a little bit, but it would have to come out. It would have to come out, and he'd have to have another board. But he didn't miss. I bet he rarely misses.
I nail it rhythmically this time too.
And then the chalk line wipes off, and the nails are perfect end to end. Good trick. Wow, okay. That's not a planer, that's slicing off a veneer. Look at that.
Yeah. That's,
All right,
I
we
don't
get a
know
tour.
what that was. Nah, that door
Blinding
was
light. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah.
What kind of finish do you guys put on these things?
Bro.
To my friends in Japan, what's that finish? Is that a tung oil? What is that on that cedar? Doors. So much he couldn't show, but 5 months. Beautiful stairs. Look at those things.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, those planks are slab grain. They're not vertical grain. I hope they don't cup. That would break somebody's heart. The knots are a nice contrast. Light, light, and more light.
Mm-hmm.
So just like the Korean
looks...
build video, comment like crazy. Tell us what we're seeing here, like those mats. Is that a tatami mat? I don't know. I don't understand a tenth of what I've just watched. Look at that beautiful, elegant square cut on the end of that railing. Mm-hmm. Simple. Just simple. It would not be code compliant here, that railing, but do we care? No, it's just so perfect. But there are so many questions. There's no question about his consummate craftsmanship. He's strong, he's smart, he's teaching his boy. The sequence of events is different there. I mean, we put the drywall in, get the wall finish taken care of, and then, the final woodwork goes in. This is sort of integrated. It all happens sort of at the same time. Those desks. Love that railing.
Mm-hmm.
Classic. Okay, I'm going to stop it right here because I want you to go to his channel. Shoyan Japanese Carpenter. I think there are multiple. This is the third installment in this process, I guess, or maybe it's other builds. But whatever he has done that they put a camera on is worth watching. And for that matter, even though the voiceover is translation from Japanese, and so you